All right, hello everyone. My name is Tarek King. Welcome to the QA Innovation Summit 2025. Really honored to be giving this opening keynote address entitled Welcome to the Future of Quality Engineering. And so, of course, we can't talk about QA innovations these days without talking about artificial intelligence. And AI and machine learning are really the buzz of the town. But this buzz seems a little bit different. It seems a little bit more explosive than it has been before. AI is being applied across all areas of the software lifecycle, as well as several different domains. And we can see AI actually touching and impacting a large part of our lives these days. And one of the reasons for this buzz has been really the idea of generative AI. So AI is being very good at dynamically generating content, everything from natural language to audio, images, video, and doing so with little to no human intervention. So, what does that mean practically? We can use AI to generate things like photorealistic faces. These people actually don't exist. They've been generated by an adversarial network. And so, when we think about this, there's obviously a lot of implications. But AI is getting to the point where we actually can't tell the difference between what is real and what is fake. And similarly, for things like artwork, AI can generate those and use different styles of artists. AI can generate music and sound much like the original authors of that content as well. And of course, the everyday use and the thing that started it all is using AI for a lot of the natural language understanding and generation. And, as we are going through and thinking about innovation, it's also good to think about the implications of this technology. And it's not that this technology is all new. A lot of this technology has been around, but what models like ChatGPT and Gemini have done for us is actually made AI actually quite believable, right? It put AI at the fingertips of every and anyone who wanted to use it. So AI became more visible, it became more comprehensible and a little bit easier to use because we can just pick up our phones or any machine and access this technology. And so, of course, as software engineers and as software testers and quality professionals, we are thinking about how to use AI in different ways across the software lifecycle. And again, we've been seeing this boom, and I just want to take a little bit of a step back to just talk about the evolution that we've seen over the last, few years of this technology and its application. And so we're seeing this AI-assisted software lifecycle. And it started with us just interacting with these models in some chat window, right? And having a conversation and thinking about the different use cases in software engineering, whether it be requirements or software testing, to actually engage these models and help, use them to perform certain tasks within the engineering lifecycle. And then that naturally evolved because once we were going to the model, asking it and seeing how it could help us, the next natural step was to integrate it and bring it into our software tools, frameworks, and platforms. And so here we entered like a co-pilot type of era where we're integrating Gen AI and that capability to, generate this content within the tools that we use, right? The integrated development environments, the sources of truth like Jira, or the design tools. And now we're seeing a step more in the direction of automation, where we're leveraging autonomous and intelligent agents that are now not just co-pilots to help us as humans do certain tasks, but are actually taking on some of those tasks themselves. And while it might still require human oversight, these bots and these agents are actually able to do quite a lot without us as humans being over them. And so this has been the evolution, right? And I know me myself in my personal journey, when I started, I did start just playing around with the models and looking at them in the context of a conversational window and using them for things like test case design or to generate automatic API tests or even performance tests. And then I stepped into looking at it, well, can it assist me with test planning and documentation or maintaining and managing the entire testing process? Generating test data, thinking about reporting and analytics, which are very traditional uses of AI. But now again, it at my fingertips, I can use these things. And it makes sense, right? Like we are always looking at ways to use tools to help make us more productive. But it's important to remind everyone that productivity is not just about getting things out there faster. There are several different elements of productivity. And yes, while the quantity of tasks that you can complete is a big factor, quality has to be a big part of that, right? So, can we produce those artifacts, produce those and complete those tasks, and do them with excellence at a certain bar? And if we can't, then there's waste, right? Because you have to go back and do rework. And therefore, there's also a cost aspect of productivity. And without these three things at play, it really actually doesn't improve or move the needle any bit. So it's something to take into consideration that as we think about the life cycle and as we think about using AI at different aspects of engineering, that we're also thinking about how, number one, we measure and enable that holistically, right? And we may need to make sure that there's checks and balances as we apply AI. So it's not just about tools, it's not just about moving faster. It's also about making sure that the end result actually we are better for, because we can actually produce a lot of artifacts quickly and they're all wrong. The other aspect of this is that we need to make sure that we're building on top of a solid foundation. And so there's a base layer of engineering excellence, whether that is your agile practices, your QE practices, shifting left, DevOps, CI/CD. If these things are not in place, again, AI won't be very successful to help us move the needle forward. And so just to run through some examples quickly, we're seeing AI be used for generating requirements, right? Acceptance criteria, even for things like UI design. And again, into these tools, right? These co-pilots living within inside Jira, right? We can do requirements analysis and generate those epics and user stories and even sequence diagrams that can be validated and verified. And gone are the days of thinking that we need like an entire team to create mockups for UIs, right? We can just now enter a simple prompt that I want a weather app from Mars, click generate, and all of a sudden there's all these mockups and screens that we can then edit and go forward from there. So it's really amazing and magical to see this happen, because I remember when I was in school building out design models and architectures, I thought, wow, this is actually quite tedious. And at the end of the day, if we can actually use AI, things like Diagram GPT, where again, you can enter a description of what you are wanting to see, a cloud architecture of something similar to Instagram, and then watch the AI actually unfold and generate this content in front of your eyes. And even if this isn't 100% correct, this is still very useful as a starting point and saves a lot of time. And so we do get a little bit of that acceleration once we use it correctly and have folks actually then taking it from there. And the co-pilots that kind of started them all, of course, GitHub Copilot, and thinking about using this to generate code and actually understand code and debug or help with code reviews. Quite impressive to see it in action. And in my roles at EPAM and TestIO, one of the things that we focused on was looking at it for test engineering perspective, right? Generating automated test scripts right within the IDE, and having it be something that really can be used on a day-to-day basis, and shared across the organization, so that not only the engineer working on this project can have it, but it can then be shared and disseminated across the organization, right? Because as we know, when it comes to testing, like it really requires a collaborative effort. And then not to leave out anything related to operations, right? We're seeing AI being embedded into the cloud infrastructure, things like Gemini Cloud Assist, into the platform, helping with app management, infrastructure as code, billing, security ops, like everything under the umbrella. And so, what is the story here? The story here is that we're seeing AI being used to automate quality engineering, right? We want to build systems with quality, right? And AI can help to accelerate that. But at the same time, AI can be used at each stage of the process where then artifacts are generated and we know that they need to be validated and verified. And if there's less time spent on actually churning them out, then more time can be spent actually validating them. And as the technology gets better, then that whole cycle then becomes even shorter and we get more acceleration. But this is not without new challenges, right? AI itself brings a lot of new challenges, and we have to be able to navigate down that road of adoption. There's a lot of uncertainties when it comes to security and intellectual property. We know we need to upskill folks on how to use AI the right way. These models, you ask them questions and they can give you the wrong answers, right? So, wrong input for sure gives you the wrong answer, but sometimes now correct input also gives you the wrong answer. And because we can generate lots of things that look correct to the untrained eye, is even more critical to have those checks and balances in place. And last but not least, measuring productivity is non-trivial. We have to measure it across the entire life cycle because we can improve getting out more code faster. But if the testing team or if the testing agents of the future can't keep up with that pace, then we don't get productivity gains. And so I like to always remind people of this mantra that we had back at Ultimate Software, which is quality equals productivity. And any side of that equation changes. If quality goes up, then productivity also increases. And in a similar way, if quality goes down, productivity goes down. And so, how do we successfully actually make this transition across the life cycle with AI and productivity? And there's a few steps that I think are critical. Um, so innovate as much as we want, but first thing, do it very safely. We need secure access to these models, assistants, and agents. And then we need to be able to share them across, the teams that we're on, right? So there needs to be a collaboration platform. Folks need to understand how to use these models. So prompt engineering and having good practices around how to guide the model is important. And of course, as I mentioned before, having a human in the loop is also very important because we need to make sure that these things are actually working for humans and doing the right things, the things that we intend them to do. That is still the oracle that usually a human can provide. And so there always should be this very holistic view of artificial intelligence as we use it to innovate in this space. And the good thing is that the conference does cover a vast amount of topics across these areas that I mentioned. But one area that I'm really passionate about and that we need to make sure that we get to is actually testing these systems, right? And that there's benefit of human evaluation of AI systems, right? At TestIO, this is the area that we're completely focused on, like bringing collective human intelligence into testing AI across domains, testing chatbots, testing actual code generators and assistants, and doing so across, quality criteria that matter to us as humans. Back in March, I was in Berlin and I wrote this series of articles on testing AI and came up with this kind of iceberg model because we tend to just look at the tip of the iceberg, but beneath the surface, like of these tools, there is a lot of depth and a lot of things that we need to validate. And so, in thinking that AI is there, and of course, we need to play a role in validating AI systems, I still truly believe that these innovations are going to transform the quality engineering discipline. AI is going to take over a lot of those functions. And so, while we have to be involved in testing the AI systems, what else are we going to do as quality professionals? And so the other thing that I would leave you with is saying that we can do the thing that the AI can't do, right? Which is test the human experience. Because no matter how sophisticated an AI system is, no matter how awesome of a tool you've built, it still is something that is built for humans, and we need to be able to test it. And as with all technology, testing the human experiences end to end are something that only a human can do. So thinking of the digital touch points, right? There's technological integration into our experiences, software, hardware, etc. So these digital touch points need to be tested, as well as the physical touch points, actually going into, the physical or real world, into the field, and seeing if that experience actually leaves you in a good state or a bad state. What is your viewpoint on it? How well does it work for you? And then experiential, right? There's also this emotional connection that we have. And at the end of the day, testing that really is what will determine the bottom line for businesses. And testing can provide real value. So, testing what really matters, right? So, I encourage you all to innovate. I encourage you all to dig into AI and machine learning. And most of all, remember at the end of the day, it is because of what humans will do in the future that will determine the success or failure of these innovations. Thank you very much.